Well, hello everyone. We're going to get started now. So thank you all for coming out. What a fabulous crowd. Thank you for coming to make sure that everyone knows that those of us that are in Springfield, Illinois really believe that we need to keep families together. So our first speaker is Shatriya Smith, and if you've had the benefit of being able to hear Shatriya perform her poems, you'll know what you're in for. So the amazing Shatriya Smith.
Look at this crowd. I am so thankful to be a part of this amazing rally, keeping families together. We stand together to fight for a cause that is beyond us, to make sure that our brothers and sisters are living humanely in these United States along with us. My name is Shatriya Smith. Let me pull this down just a bit. I am here with you today to share my thoughts and sentiments of my friends who are against separating families and the zero-tolerance immigration policy. Growing up in this same town my whole life, Springfield is a home, not just a home that keeps me safe, but a community that supports me. Many of us here have the spirit of abolition. The spirit to free people unjustly charged and inhumanely kept from one thing that they call home, their families. I know what it means to feel unsafe. I know what it means to feel persecuted, but I do not know what it means to feel like I'm snatched away from my mother, or my child is snatched away from me, not knowing if we will ever be reunited. Some not knowing if they will lose custody of their children while attempting to find safety. Yet in America, reoccurring history, we are watching again. One that our forefathers and our foremothers fought against. We are reliving the tides of oppression.
That lady with the gray hair in the front, can you get her to
was a time
just a little bit to the never.
For Black Americans that if they stood up to oppression, we were met with burnt homes, burnt businesses, lynching, and diminished quality of life. We are no longer in those days of fear, so we must speak up for others. Today I read a story and a poem by Martha DeBalt that touched my heart, and I hope that these shared words will resonate within you to do something. The poem prelude is called Sit With Me. It's a story that was set at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Trenton at 11 o'clock Mass. Friar Daughtery spoke on the topic that particular morning on how parish families needed to be there for one another if members are suffering. He said even though whether the cause, the pain could not be fixed, like undoing a divorce or reversing a death or curing an illness, members could be with each other during these painful times. Towards the end of his homily, he read an excerpt from Nicholas Waldertroff's book, Laminate for a Son, in which the author expressed his pain at the death of his child. There was one phrase in particular that burned into Martha's brain, containing the words, "Come sit with me on my bench of desperation." The phrase stayed with Martha for the duration of the day until she sat down and the first words that were written on paper was "sit with me on the bench of desperation." She became aware of the words meant being that for others is not just for parish families. The words I, me, my can represent individuals or groups anywhere. It's a way of being for our own families, neighbors, cities, and extending to our fellow citizens and countrymen around the world. And this poem I shall recite is called Sit With Me. Sit with me on the bench of desperation, on my purge of fiery needles, at the seat of my torn apart heart. Sit with me. Be with me in this explosion of my world and the consuming fire of pain in my drowning doubts or fears with little hope of staying sane. Be with me. Listen to me, to the echoing emphasis, to the insidious isolation, and the same time the crashing waves of reality. Listen to me. Share with me your hand in my hand, your arm on my shoulder. Our tears combine so that we may stay somehow connected to a world no longer mine. Share with me. Please reflect God in my face. Thank you, Martha, for allowing me to share your words with my voice. As I ask you to share your words of freedom, inclusion, keeping families together to everyone you know. Thank you. For if we do nothing, we condone injustice. If we say nothing, we support oppression. For if we feel nothing, we stand with hatred. So do something, say something, feel something. Now I know this is a hot button issue, but I am in support of Maxine Waters and the plight of nonviolent protest against those who suggest that someone else's suffering is needed for our benefit of greatness. When we band together, we can be a beacon of humanity. We demand an end to family separation. We demand an immediate reunification of families, and I need you to be the abolitionist you were born to be. Thank you.
Told ya. She's pretty awesome. So before we introduce our next speaker, we'd like to say thank you to all of the clergy members from all the different faiths, several different faiths I should say, here in Springfield. So let's please give them a round of applause for standing up to hate. So our next speaker is Veronica Espina. She has been extremely involved in Welcoming Cities Committee within Springfield and has been working very hard to get our Welcoming City initiative passed here. So hopefully that will happen soon. Here's Veronica. Sure.
Early this week, I shared a picture on Instagram with a sign prepared for our rally where I asked, "Where is your heart?" And I invited the community to come and take the streets like you're doing here today. In the last month, many of us have had our hearts on pause, suspended. We've been trying to pick up the pieces and hold them while the news continues to show the faces of children, their moms, their dads, rip apart from each other. Their toys, pictures, and few belongings became the debris of thousands of miles spent on dangerous roads in truly desolate journeys, taken by families that had one thing and one single thought in mind: this child has to survive. When the threat of violence, hunger, and imminent death becomes so enormous and the fear so great, what should a parent do? What would your family do? When running for the border is the only solution, you learn to run on your mother's arms. Even if that means you're going to spend the next 3 months with little to eat on the road to freedom. Since May, over 2,300 children and their parents have suffered the treatment of a cruel system that believes scarcity is the rule, and abundance is not affordable in the land of the free. The most powerful nation in the world does not have bread to share. Whether we want or not to believe that this has happened before, our attempts to deny the pattern will fail the test of memory faster than our desire to forget the same realities our ancestors, Native Americans, Africans and Asian descendants, and marginalized populations experienced generations ago. Taking your children away, breaking your family apart, caging you and displaying your suffering as if wanting to survive was a crime to be against you is deliberate. is a dehumanizing strategy. It has always been a tool of fear and a weapon of conquest. So how do we fight that? How do we stop it? How do we rescue our principles, our beliefs in justice, freedom, and due process, and put in action our genuine devotion to our communities? How do we now become the country we were supposed to be? You may start finding those answers in the first question I asked you. Where is your heart? Little 5-year-old Jose, a child from Honduras, does not understand who a Democrat or a Republican is. He doesn't know who's signing executive orders in the Oval Office. He just spent hours and hours traveling with his dad to La Frontera to seek asylum. They were immediately separated as they arrived at the US border in El Paso. 5-year-old Jose had been on the road trekking across Mexico for 3 days and only carried with him a trash bag with dirty clothes on a flight that took him from El Paso to Michigan. He became withdrawn and silent after being placed with his new foster mom, who reported to the New York Times Jose cried himself to sleep the first nights, and the nights after those, he began to moan and moan as he tried to rest and sleep again. He keeps a stick figure drawing of his family under his pillow. And while you and I are holding our tear back in front of the TV, 5-year-old Jose is trying to hold to his tiny heart, and he's trying to keep it intact. He's trying to keep it in one piece. He's desperately holding on to his memories to keep his history alive with the thoughts of mommy's lullabies and papi's jokes, to get through the day and sleep at night. So one last time, where is your heart? If you're here, I know your heart may be here. So I'm gonna ask your hearts to be brave so the spirit can guide and the mind can follow. We need to train the heart to be resilient and continue to lead so that when those difficult conversations with our neighbors and friends, with the strangers at church, work, and school come up, we're brave enough to say, I got your back. Our hearts are going to take us to the polls, to the capitals and city halls where the lawmakers are to be accountable for what is happening in our country. Our hearts are going to tell our country, it is not enough to be proud of you in times of light and accomplishment. We want to be fiercely proud of you when you write policies and decisions that you make as a nation in the darkness, in the darkest of times. This is where my heart is. I'm pleading and promising that it will be on the right side of history. So little 5-year-old Jose, the boy from Honduras that came with his puppy at the border, was sent to Michigan, was put in foster care, and continued to place the stick figure drawings under his pillow, is not forgotten and can be reunited with his family again. Family belongs together. Thank you.
Where is your heart? 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 Amen. Thank you. So our next speaker is Sister Beth Murphy. She is one of the Dominican sisters. And I do need to say thank you to Veronica. Veronica, you rocked as usual. Thank you. Sister Beth.
Good morning, everyone. Where is your heart? Thank you, Veronica. You know, I'm not the first Dominican to stand up here today. Veronica Espina is an associate of the Dominican Sisters of Springfield, and we stand together and ask the question, where is your heart? Well, today my heart is with the families in the United States of Somalian and Iranian and Yemeni and Syrian origin who may, because of the president's travel ban, be permanently separated from their hearts, from their families, who are in Muslim countries that the president is trying to ban from the United States. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court decided that because of bedrock principles of religious neutrality and tolerance, they must decide in favor of the cake baker in the Colorado cake baker case. They said his religious beliefs were under siege and therefore required the protection of the court. Where then, can you tell me, in the context of the anti-Muslim animus we've heard from this president, are the bedrock principles of religious neutrality and tolerance in Trump v. Hawaii? This week, my Dominican sisters and I put our hearts and voices together with 38,000 Catholic sisters throughout the United States who are saying, not in our name, to the Supreme Court's decision in the case of Donald Trump versus the state of Hawaii. This was the president's third attempt to ban Muslims from our country. The court's flawed ruling adds to the climate and fear, an anti-Muslim sentiment in this country, and threatens the values on which our nation is founded. As women of faith, we believe that all people are created in God's image. All are worthy of respect. All are entitled to the protection of their human rights and religious liberty. We strongly object to the president's continued abuse of his authority to create by fiat policies that deny access to our Muslim sisters and brothers because of their religion. Such discrimination violates our deeply held beliefs and is against the principles upon which our nation was founded. We will stand with the Muslim community in Springfield and around the nation, and with all who are subjected to deeply troubling discriminatory policies of this administration. With the children at the border and the Muslim families in this country who've been separated from their loved ones overseas by the president's travel ban, we ask, where is your heart, Mr. President? Where is your heart, Supreme Court justices? Thank you.
Chanting, and we have someone who's going to lead you in some more chants so we can all get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, you people are so beautiful today. Give yourselves a round of applause for just getting out here, making your voices heard, and saying, I don't have to sit down for this. I fully believe that when we are all together and we have that one collective voice, that it's really, really loud. And so I'm so glad that you're here today. Would you join me in this? Keep families together. 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 Now let's try this in español, por favor. You look like you're ready. You look like you took some high school Spanish, maybe. Let's do it in two parts. Familias unidas. No divididas. No divididas. Familias unidas. No divididas. Familias unidas. No divididas. Familias unidas. No divididas. Familias unidas. No divididas. Muchas gracias. I love you all. Thank you for coming out.
Kelly Hurst, give it up for her because she's flippin' amazing. Thank you. So you guys, we know it's getting hot. We're going to keep things moving. We'll get out of here before you all totally sweat. But please remember, there are water stations. Keep yourself hydrated. Go get some fresh water, okay? So next up, we have Jim Lewis, who is the former U.S. Attorney for our district. Jim.
Thank you, thank you. Where's your heart? Where's your mind? Where's your soul? I'm here to talk about a bad idea, zero tolerance towards immigrant parents and children seeking asylum from death and disaster. And I'm here to talk about a good idea, what we can do about it. The zero tolerance policy towards misdemeanors, I want to make sure we all understand it. Many of us do. They closed or overloaded the ports of entry. People crossed the border for the first time seeking asylum. That's a federal misdemeanor. It's not a felony. United States attorneys' offices don't do misdemeanors. I've been in the southwest border. I spent a week evaluating the Tucson, Arizona office. They don't do immigration misdemeanors until now, ordered by the Attorney General. What do U.S. attorneys actually do? I'll tell you, we do immigration felonies, and not too many of them. We do immigration smuggling, we do immigration human trafficking, we do serious felonies that endanger others, and we do multiple felony crossing. Nothing else. We don't do immigration misdemeanors. What we do is tough but fair. We're being sold a policy now by a salesman-in-chief for political reasons. I co-signed a public letter with 80 former U.S. attorneys saying to the Attorney General, don't do this. Border agents are busy. They can't prosecute all these cases. The prosecutors are busy doing serious cases. They can't do it. There aren't enough defense attorneys. There aren't enough courts. And still, these people have the asylum question, the reason that brought them here. This is really an attack on asylum, one of many. There's a better idea. It's to have an asylum process, which starts at the border with what's called a credible fear interview. You don't go to jail. That happens to be expensive. You go through what's called case management. You may get an ankle bracelet. It's 95% effective or more in getting people to come back for their immigration hearings and their asylum hearings. The idea of imprisonment and internment is an idea we went through in World War II. It was wrong then. It's wrong now. And they decided to do this without the children. Now they've changed their minds and they're trying to do it with children. Please understand, that means imprisonment or internment with children, and that's just as wrong as anything else. And that requires them to find the children and find the parents. And the government that separated them can't actually find them. Now, the government is doing this with our money and our good name. We are intentionally hurting people. This is the politics using our good name purely for political purposes. Asylum seekers will work. The statistics are they work at a higher percentage than everyone else. They will pay tax. They will not commit crimes. The statistics are they commit fewer crimes than the rest of us. So that's the bad idea. Now I have a PowerPoint. At age 78, it's a PowerPoint. And it goes with this. I thought I knew America. I thought I knew American ideals and American purposes. But this is a practice and an America that I do not know. Many years ago, I took a knee for voting rights in 1965, and I got arrested for my troubles with 50 people in Southwest Mississippi. So here are my two good ideas. One is vote. Every single election, every single office for the person who respects other people. And vote, what I'm going to call vote plus. You say, well, I'm only one vote. Not if you encourage others. Not if you educate others. Not if you bring others to the polls. Not if you do all those things. Vote plus. I want to tell you, in Mississippi, people could not register to vote, and now, because people did what we did, Mississippi has the most African American elected officials of any state in the entire country. Now, when I got arrested, and here's how I'm going to end. I went with two highway patrolmen and my good friend and Episcopalian minister, Harry Bowie. And I said to Harry, as we were being driven to jail, where does this end? And Harry said, and this is my message, Harry's message, I don't know where this ends, but I know that we must push, because people are pushing against us. If we stop pushing, they win. Well, right now, the pushback people are in charge temporarily. So make sure to push if you want America to be proud of its heart and its mind and its soul. Thank you.
Thank you. So next up we have Senator Duckworth is of course in Washington D.C. with her new baby, and she was supporting the women who were protesting at the Senate building this week, so God love her for that. But her chief of staff, Cameron Joost, is here to read a statement from her. And prior to that though, we have some elected officials here. Can you all raise your hands? We don't have time to call you all out, but we want to say thank you. Thank you for being on the right side. Thank you for being on the side of love. All right, Cameron. Bring it on.
Hey, Cameron! Good morning, everyone. I love the response. Good morning. My name is Cameron Joost. I'm a proud Springfield native and Senator Tammy Duckworth State Director. I'm here today to speak out for all children and their families that have no voice on behalf of Senator Duckworth. Over the past couple of weeks, the Trump administration's policy of separating children from their parents at the border has been leading our daily news. This is an issue that is near and dear to the Senator's heart, and I will now read some words from Senator Duckworth.
That'll work.
The reports are chilling. Babies and toddlers were ripped away from their families and then held in what have at best been described as, quote, playrooms of crying preschool-age children in crisis, end quote. This is indeed a crisis. For weeks, Donald Trump and his administration enforced an inhumane policy of separating families entering the U.S., including those who are fleeing violence and lawfully seeking asylum here in America. Whatever your feelings about the parents, no child should ever be subjected to this abuse. I'm lucky to be the mother of 2 incredible little girls. I can't even begin to imagine being torn away from them, but that's nothing compared to the pain and fear they would feel if they were ripped from my arms. As the daughter of an immigrant, and also as someone whose family has served in the U.S. Armed Forces during every period of conflict dating back to the American Revolution, I'm disgusted by the level of cruelty Donald Trump and his administration have shown to people coming to America seeking refuge and a better life. These are not the American ideals I fought to defend 23 years in uniform. Let's be clear though. Trump signed an executive order last week supposedly ending the inhumane policy of separating families, but he only did it after receiving wave after wave of backlash from the American people. People just like you gathered here today. After traumatizing countless children, Trump's new, quote, solution is to keep families together in jail. It is deeply disturbing that the President of the United States of America, the leader of the free world, believes children belong in jail cells at all. And there is serious cause for concern that the Trump administration has no plan in place to reunite the families it has already ripped apart, despite a court order requiring it to do so. This is a moral failure on a scale that would have been unfathomable just a few years ago. The Trump administration has chosen to rip children and babies away from their parents and then hold them hostage. They're acting as if this is some political game to be won, but the reality is that they are playing with innocent children's lives. As a mother and as an American, I will not let this abuse continue. It is completely antithetical to our nation's core values to abuse innocent children and infants and ignore their literal cries for help. We must ensure this policy is never implemented again, and we must do everything in our power to ensure that children who have been torn apart from their families are reunited. Thank you for being here today and fighting for innocent children, their families, and the values of our nation. We can't give up, and we won't. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron, and thank you, Senator Duckworth. Please give her our best. So next up, we have Valeria Cueto, and she's also part of the Welcoming City Initiative, and she has some really interesting things to have you guys here, so make sure you can listen.
Thank you again for being here. Your presence matters. It really, really matters. So thank you. I'm a first-generation American. At the age of 9, my mother and her family were forced to leave their home in Nicaragua. My mother's name, a 9-year-old's name, was on the death threat that made my family's move a necessity, not a choice. My father, at age 2, was moved from safe house to safe house in the middle of the night until he and his family were able to flee the threat of death in Cuba. While at the tender age of 2, he wasn't able to understand what was happening, the stress caused his hair to fall out in clumps. The trauma both my parents survived.
She wants mommy, okay?
The trauma both of my parents survived was only mitigated by the fact that they were welcomed into this country, our country, and that they faced the arduous journey to safety together with their families. There is nothing more comforting to a child during times of distress than the arms of his parents. We have taken this away from over 2,300 children. There is nothing more motivating to a parent than the need of his or her child. This administration's zero tolerance policy was counting on that. My family history, though, is not why I've been in such a state of despair over the treatment of families at the border. My heartache is due to the simple fact that I know what it is to love a child. My 18-month-old daughter gives me life. In the darkest of moments, it is the sound of her laughter, the curve of her cheek, the feeling of her embrace, and the hope for her future that gives me the courage and energy to press on. Imagining the pain I would feel if she were taken from me takes my breath away, literally. And she is older than some of the children who have been ripped from their mother's arms. Twice I've been asked the question, why should someone in central Illinois care about what's happening at the border, which is so far away? And my response is simple, it's not far away. Every time you see a tender exchange between a child and his parent, this crisis is in front of you. Every time you see a baby contentedly sitting on her mother's lap, this heartache is made manifest. Every time I feel the weight of my daughter's body in my arms, I am reminded of the burden of a mother crying out for her stolen child, the child she risked everything to save. And this story, the story of an immigrant family, is a shared story. It's not just my family's story or that of the people currently at our border. It's a story that transcends time and place. It's a story of bravery, hope, and infinite love. Bravery to face the Herculean obstacles and risk it takes to uproot a family and start anew. Hope that the world is better than living in the midst of oppression, extortion, death threats, and murders. That somewhere you can live in peace. And love of children, and the belief that giving them a chance at life is worth walking 1,000 miles in the desert, and 1,000 more if that's what it takes. We too must do whatever it takes to make things right by these families. Seeking asylum is not a crime, it is a human right. Call your representatives and senators, call them every day, call them until all of the children who have been taken from their parents are reunited. Thank you.
Thank you, Valeria, and all the work you do in our community. We so appreciate. I have the distinct honor of bringing up to the stage the person who's going to fight for us in Congress, fight back against these policies. My dear friend, Betsy Dirksen Londrigan, running in the 13th district. I know we would have a smarter, a harder worker, a woman in Congress who's going to go there and make sure that we're all putting our children to bed at night, that their bellies are full, that they're in safe places. Betsy is the one that we're going to be working for in our community to get elected. And by the way, her office is right down there, so after this you can go sign up. Please welcome to the stage Betsy Dirksen Londrigan, the next congressperson in the 13th district.
Yes, I do stand here today as the Democratic nominee for the Congressional 13th District. But I really stand here today as the great-granddaughter of immigrants. One who knows that my life in these United States is built on the dreams of my family who came before me. They looked across oceans and saw a land of opportunity, of safety, of endless possibilities. Although they didn't speak the language, and I'm sure they were scared, their hopes and dreams for a better future for their children were bigger than their fears. So generations later, here I stand. I stand here as a mother of 3 children who I love fiercely, just like you love yours. And just like those mothers and fathers at the southern borders who have risked everything to bring their children to our land of opportunity, of safety, of possibility. You know, all of us were shocked when we saw images of children being separated from their parents, their brothers and sisters, their lifelines. But none of us are shocked or surprised when we see images of parents running into burning buildings or toward burning cars to save their children's lives. Because we know that's exactly what we would do. And I look at the desperate faces of those parents bringing their children into the United States, and I think it's the exact same thing. They're running for their lives with their children from danger to seek refuge. I've seen the same images you've seen. I've heard the same audio you've heard. And it's made my heart ache. It's made my stomach flip. And I keep thinking to myself, this in no way should be a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. Right? It's a human issue. This is when we stand up, when we speak out against separating families, when we stand up and we speak for reuniting families. Because we are mothers and fathers, daughters and sons, humans together, who see ourselves in those desperate faces, and we know we have to do better. This can't be who we are as a nation. We know our immigration system is broken. Congress knows it. Not that they're doing anything about it, but they know it. But with the right people at the table, we can determine a fair and humane path to citizenship. In 129 days, we have a chance. We have a chance to vote to put people at the table who put solutions before politics. In 129 days, you get to vote. You get to vote your humanity. You get to vote your voice. You get to vote for change. And you get to vote to stand up and show who we really are. This is our chance.
Betsy, 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 Betsy. Betsy's right. Voting matters. Vote your humanity, not your fear. I'm tickled, I'm thrilled, I sort of can't believe she's here. Linda Rivas from Las Americas in El Paso is our keynote speaker. And when we invited her to come, you know, she also has a march in El Paso, and she was part of the court case with ACLU that actually won, and kids are now supposed to be reunited with their families. Hopefully they're finding those kids, but she was integral. That was originally her client. So the fact she's here in Springfield today, it's a great honor. I'm thrilled for us in a community like Springfield, in a blue state, even though we're a little red down here, that we can hear from someone who's actually on the ground providing these services to families, trying to reunite them, helping these people who come in from countries that are much more violent and seeking asylum, that we can hear from someone on the ground in a border town here today. So please join me in welcoming the Executive Director and Attorney for Las Americas, Linda Rivas.
My name is Linda Rivas, and I proudly serve as a director and attorney at Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center in El Paso, Texas. We have been, thank you, woo, El Paso, Springfield presente, El Paso presente, woo! For 31 years, we have been serving the immigrant population proudly and humbly, We are honored to do so. In particular, we have focused on asylum seekers. Now, many of those people are parents that have been separated from their children. I wanted to let you all know that El Paso was dealing with this before it ever became news. It has been confirmed by DHS that El Paso was absolutely the testing ground, the ground zero for this family separation policy. So what did we do on the ground as advocates? Probably the same thing that all you incredible advocates and activists would have done if you were in our shoes. We fought. We demanded meetings with ICE leadership, CBP leadership, and we got our Congressman Beto O'Rourke involved with us as well. Woo! The monster was too big to fight at that time. People did not believe it was happening, and they lied to our face and said they were not separating children. We know now, and we have confirmed, that that was a lie. They've been separating children for over a year now, and it started in El Paso. So I wanted to come and bring some of those stories to you today, some of the stories of our fight on the ground. Jocelyn is a mother who's standing today reunited with her 15-year-old son in DC, at the National March in DC. I'm so proud of her. Yeah. Jocelyn was separated from her son in August of 2017, and she spent 9 months and 9 days away from him. That is a number that she counts and that she recalls with much pain. That's an entire school year. For us parents, can you imagine? The first thing she did was a very tender and motherly thing. She went and got him a haircut. And she was an integral part. She is the lead plaintiff in the ACLU case, where we have a decision coming down from the judge demanding that families be reunited now. Just to put things into perspective, the loss of control that Jocelyn had as a mother is immense. Her child was medicated without her consent for behavioral problems that she knows were brought on by the cruel act of separating him from her without any explanation. She spent 2 months not knowing where her child was. When someone told her they were in Chicago, he was in Chicago, she did not know what that meant. She didn't know if that was the name of the shelter, a city, or even a person. That's how little information and how little respect she was given as the rightful mother of this boy. But we fought, and Las Americas fought alongside with the ACLU for the first time, which we are so proud to have been able to do that, and they are now reunited, and this court case calls for the reunification of families, and we are so happy for that. But I want to tell you, because many people have asked me, isn't this over? It is not over. The executive order was meant to dissuade your anger and your energy. Nothing has changed. The suspension, it is a temporary suspension of zero tolerance. Temporary, that was confirmed to me, to my face, by the commissioner of CBP. He said it was temporary, that they still have a goal to prosecute to the full extent the misdemeanor of illegal entry, even of asylum seekers. So we know that this is still happening. This is not over. The fight is not over. And what comes next is even more, is just as horrific. It's replacing one horror with another, and that is family detention. Fort Bliss is our military base in El Paso, Texas, and it has already been assigned to have 20,000 beds that will hold families indefinitely. This cannot stand. We must support all migrants in their plight for a better life. Family separation should have never existed, and we still have thousands of children that need to be reunited now. So we would like to make a call for action today. We must vote. We must continue to stay outraged at the treatment of all immigrants because it's not okay. There is an attack on all immigration, not just illegal immigration. There is a criminalization of all migration, and it needs to stop. Let's keep voting, let's keep marching, stay outraged. And I would like to make a very specific ask. I am honored to be with you today. I am inspired by your fight. I'm inspired by your incredible leaders. I hope to be able to work with them for a long time because now we know each other. And we need to ask for one thing. If you would consider donating to Las Americas, we are on Facebook, on Instagram. We are Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center. And I have one very special ask. We are a nation coming together, and we have a chant in Spanish that is, El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. That is, us as a community together, we will never be conquered. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Thank you so much, Springfield. Woo!
It's hot.
It's hot.
Hace calor. So one thing, we are not going to march because it's hot and we want you to be safe. We hope that you've been staying hydrated. We hope that you have been staying cool. So we're going to end at this point. We do have one more ask. And the reason why we have to have some calls to action is because so often people say, what is it I can do? What can I do? I don't feel like I can do anything. You did one thing today. You showed up here. Thank you for showing up here. Last year, around this time, a group of us came together and decided that we wanted to become a welcoming city, and we took it to our city council, and they didn't pass it. I just want to ask you now, would you like us to be a welcoming city? So would you do me a favor? I have a call to action for you, and you can do it right this moment. If you take out your phones, you can go and sign a petition. I have an address for you. If you go to bit.ly.com, if you know anything about Bit.ly, it's bit.ly/2 capital NAVSJF. I'm going to leave this up here so that if you, on your way out, if you wanted to sign a petition to tell our city council people that you would like us to be a welcoming city, how could you not welcome this lovely baby, Elena, right here? Hola, Elena. She told me to tell you that. So thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. But one of the things I didn't tell you is that I'm a career educator. I'm an activist who does my work in education, and so I'm here for your Spanish test. You know what's coming? Familias unidas, no divididas. Familias unidas, no divididas. Familias unidas, no divididas. Gracias. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate all of your hard work today. Thank you. You can come up and take pictures of this if you like. I'm going to leave it up here.